Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to do a true crime video and we're going to talk about Thomas Capano. Now, I do know that, everybody's heard about Anne Marie Fahey, and a lot of um, people that I have watched, listened to on true crime or whatever have done it from her point of view. And I'm going to kind of go into him, and then we're going to get into her disappearance and so forth, and give you a little you know just kind of go into it. Now, he was a lawyer, and actually he was deputy attorney general, and he was convicted of murder of Anne Marie Fahey, even though they never did find her body. And it was very, very weird. Now, as those of you that know, you probably watch this on national news. You guys know that he was a prominent lawyer. She was a secretary, an appointment secretary for then Governor Carper. And they became involved in 1994. And in September 1995, she was involved with Capano and began a relationship with Michael Scanlon. Now, during all of this, mind you, she realized that she was not going to have a permanent relationship, that she was going to continue to be, Capano's mistress. And so she kind of broke, she broke it off with him, and this is where she met Michael. Now, we're going to kind of get into this, and I'm going to kind of go with this and let you all, tell y'all what happened. Now, she disappeared in on the evening of June 27th, early morning of June 28th, and which eventually, destroyed his, career and so forth. But he took her out to dinner on June 27th, and at some point, they believe that he killed her. Now, nobody reported her missing. Nobody reported her missing from work, and they only because the accounts of the evening would be taken and accepted. This, of course, now, mind you, he's very, very arrogant. I had no clue. But when I was watching some of the clips of the trial from the news, you could tell he was very arrogant. And, he just, it was weird. Now, she disappeared. When she disappeared on June 27th, June 30th, her family reported her missing. So, they wait until, 3 days later to report her missing. Of course, now the FBI does eventually become involved. And for over a year, the grand jury had listened to, heard evidence. And the evidence showed that Thomas Capano was the last one to see her alive. And he was eventually arrested in November of 97. But her body was never found. So, of course, they're unable to establish how, how she died. And, so forth. But the reason that they think that he killed her was this. He was married. He told Anne Marie that, the marriage was over. But now, this is where it gets very, very interesting. And I had, I was kind of shocked when I found this out. She wasn't the only mistress. He was in a 15-year relationship with Deborah McIntyre, who happened to be the ex wife of his former partner and also a friend of his wife. Now, okay. So basically, I'm I don't okay. So now, of course, there's that, but she knew Anne Marie didn't know anything about her, about, Deborah McIntyre at all whatsoever. And so, you know, um she had a lot of self-esteem issues in the process, which, okay, but my thing is, this is where I totally, totally, don't like what, how this is why I'm saying he's arrogant and he's a real piece of work because he used these self esteem issues and, basically made her, I guess, feel guilty and so forth. And, a lot of things to try to make her very, very dependent on him so that she would not leave him. And of course, that never happened because she ended up in a relationship with Michael Scanlon. And so now, mind you, during all that, she makes, during the 2 years, the off and on relationship with him, um, she would go on vacations with him. They would, talk about, the different aspects of her life and his life. She had a, uh, he even went as far as to pay for a busted windshield that to pay to have that replaced. And of course, she, fantasized about him leaving his family and pursuing a full-time relationship with her. But, again, it never happened and she tried to break it off with him, and of course then, you know, he brought up, this is how he, I guess he got to make her feel guilty or so forth. He brought up, all of her issues, and um, she also had an eating disorder, which I did not know this either. But he made her feel like poop, I guess. I don't know. And he knew that she had an eating disorder, and he knew that she was seeing a therapist and was taking medication, and they made her self conscious. And of course, then he would eventually end up calling her and sending her flowers and excessive emails. I mean, this guy was really, really like, I don't know what else to call him. I don't want to say stalker, but see that again, I don't know if he was, doing this after she ended the relationship. It doesn't really make that very clear. But yeah, he was very, very, I mean, he just, to me, that's kind of stalkerish, especially when you're being excessive with emails and calling, constantly. I mean, if I had somebody do that to me, I would, you know. But then again, and I guess he likes to be in control also. Um, but his attempts were to wear her down, and he wanted to regain the upper hand. So basically, because she broke it off with him, he felt that she, that he felt the need to do what he needed to do to keep her under his control. which tells me, you know what. Um, so um, now she told a couple people that she was afraid of him and his controlling manner. So, she was worried that he was going to hurt her. But when she fell ill because of her disorder, uh, she called him to pick her up. Now, that confuses me, but then I can kind of see, because I've been in a controlling relationship before, and you kind of, from her point of view, you kind of, are, um, it's kind of drilled in your head that, you know, I mean, he's, been there for you, and, you don't, he's the only one that understands, blah, 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 blah. So, she basically thought of him as a knight in shining armor, if that makes any sense to anybody. To me, I can see where she's coming from, because like I said, I've been in that kind of a relationship before, but not one where he scared me. um but I know where she's coming from, and I kind of get it, but then looking at it now from this point of view, I just, it's it's I don't even know how to describe it now, because I've been there, done that, and it's sad. Um, Now, mind you, even though now in Christmas of 1995, he had given her a plane ticket. This was a present, Christmas present. He had gifted her a plane ticket to Spain, and um, she refused the gift, and basically kind of told him that she had already met someone, and now uh he treated her well. She fell in love with him, and basically Thomas Capano realized that he had no place in her life. And now they think this is why they killed her. So it was also kind of, kind of crazy. Now, the prosecution could not come up with a really good motive, I guess. Now, the defense during the trial had basically said that it really wasn't, it was basically an accident. That's what they're saying. That his other mistress, Deborah McIntyre, who, mind you, had bought the gun in the first place. She bought the gun, and for her, now her thing, what her statement was, that she bought the gun for him because, you know I guess he told her that he was going to kill her. I don't know. So she, had the gun. The gun was already in her possession and in her name, so forth and so on. But the defense claims that um, Deborah McIntyre showed up in his room, showed up in Thomas Capano's room, found Anne Marie and Thomas Capano in an intimate, um, engaged in intimacy, and that she threatened to shoot herself, and then her Capano and McIntyre started wrestling for the gun. It fired and it killed her. So now here's my next question. If that is the case, why would you go and do what they do next? Now, Deborah McIntyre's left out of this next part. But my thing is, if this is the case, why would he go and proceed to put her in a cooler? That makes no sense to me. The only thing I can come up with is that he did this because he knew that he wasn't going to, she didn't want him in his life anymore. That's the only thing I can think of. Now, this is how they think they got rid of the body. Okay, they say that he murdered her at the house. Mind you, they don't say anything about McIntyre. Even though the defense claims that McIntyre is the one and Capano, that the gun just went off, blah, 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 blah. So, the prosecution claims that, he murdered her at the house that he was renting. And with the assistance of his brother, Jerry, and dumped her body in the sea. Now, Jerry Capano, I don't know why I want to put a T in there. Jerry Capano owned the boat, and when it was sold, there were 2 anchors that were missing. Now, mind you, they already planned to have they use there's a cooler involved, but you'll see, I'll explain to you why the 2 anchors are missing. Now, in November of 1997, Jerry was eventually interviewed by the detectives, and he told them that Thomas had borrowed the boat and admitted that he murdered someone who was attempting to extort him. Now, mind you, remember, he's the one, Thomas is the one that was going around buying all this stuff for Anne Marie to wear her down. She wasn't doing anything to him. She wasn't extorting him that we know of. Now, she was, okay, but that doesn't mean, he had to kill her. Now, they went to Stone Harbor, New Jersey, with a large cooler that contained Anne Marie's body. And then they took the boat and sailed 62 miles out to sea, and then they pushed the cooler overboard. Now, this is where it gets kind of funny, because I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand why this didn't happen. I think it was because, if I'm not mistaken, it was a styrofoam cooler, so I can't remember. But anyway, they throw the cooler overboard, but it didn't sink right away. And his brother Jerry told the police that Thomas shot the cooler because the cooler wasn't, sinking. And then when it would not, after he shot it, it still wouldn't sink. So now, he then retrieves the cooler, and he removes the body, wraps the anchor chains around the body. Then he also got Jerry to help him get rid of a blood-stained sofa and a carpet into a dumpster, which was owned by their other brother, Louis. Now, here's what's interesting. It doesn't tell you what they do with the cooler. Okay. Now I don't know if they ended up if they kept the cooler. Um, no, they didn't. It doesn't say what they did with the cooler after they removed her body. They just says that they wrapped the chains around her body, whatever. Now I don't know. Um, Now they got his brother Lewis to empty the dumpsters outside of their regular schedule. Now, mind you, his brother Lewis owned I guess, the dumpster company. So they got, the company to have it done, dumped on outside of the normal schedule. And now the cooler was found still in the ocean. Now remember, he didn't do anything with the cooler. He just left it there in the ocean. Didn't even bother to get rid of that evidence, which I think was totally stupid on his part. But um sorry about that. There was somebody at the door. Um so, you know, okay, so they find the cooler. Um Now mind you, they never found body. They never had any evidence that, about the weapon. Um just that, the gun belonged to his other mistress. So now, um, they, after all the trial and everything, they, uh, um, now what makes this all interesting, sorry, what makes this all even more interesting is, okay, now he returns after he gets rid of her body with in the cooler. He then, um, okay, now this is another thing, and I kind of, going all over crazy here, but um, now mind you, she was 5'10". He had to break her legs in order to get her body inside. Now he left it. He chained the cooler and he left it in the garage of where he was staying. So now, after all of that, okay, he goes back to her apartment and to basically set up the scene. He placed a dress that she'd been wearing in her bedroom, and along with her shoes that he had bought a pantsuit that she admired. Um, the unopened box was found in her bedroom. Um, he put her handbag with her wallet inside on the kitchen counter next to the takeout container. He also left a grocery bag of fruit, something that, he had purchased for her earlier. He turned on her air conditioning unit and then he left. And locked it with her key. Um, uh, so basically, he just kind of it made no sense to me why, all of this happened. Even though, they still claimed that, she did, his mistress did all this. It didn't even phase him. And yet, even though there's still no body, he's still charged with this murder. And he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. And of course, then eventually his sentence was remanded due to the penalty being a non-unanimous jury. They elected to not go after the capital punishment, and instead he now was sentenced to life in prison. Um, Now he was found dead in his cell on September the 19th, 2011. The medical examiner determined that he had died of a cardiac arrest due to cardiovascular disease and obesity. Um, my thing is, now there's been a lot of, like, unanswered questions, like, if um why she continued this cat and mouse game with him, because that's what it sounds like, is that even though she didn't want to have anything else to do with him, and so forth, when she got to her lowest is what who she called him. And he would send her gifts, but she wouldn't open them, and but she never got rid of them, which I don't, to me that makes me wonder also. um which I think, like I said earlier, it sounds like because he had controlled her for so long, she just was kind of in the back of her mind used to, um just used to it. So um and whenever she told him no, he got very, very scared, especially when she started dating this other gentleman, or this other guy, because he realized, um she doesn't need him anymore, and he didn't like that. He didn't want to lose that control over her, and it was just, that's kind of sad, because she was really, really, um and it's bad when that happens because of the low self-esteem. And I've been there, done that, and I know what it's like to have a lot of low self-esteem. And and it's kind of sad when people like, Tom Capano do this to you, because he becomes, he's just a big jerk. And um and definitely did not want to lose her to, this guy Michael Scanlon, who seemed to be definitely better for her. So, oh wow, guys, that was the shortest one I've ever done. So, I really, really hope you enjoy this. I am very sorry. I thought it was going to be longer than that, but anyway, now I will tell you that there is um a couple of different versions, I guess, of this story. There are several books that were written about it, and one is called "And Never Let Her Go." Thomas Capano, The Deadly Seducer by Anne Rule. Then The Summer Wind, Thomas Capano, and the Murder of Anne Marie Fahey by George Anastasia. And there's a couple other ones. Then there is even a television movie that was based on Anne Rule's book, and it's called And Never Let Her Go, which starred Mark Harmon and Catherine Morris. Mark Harmon played Capano, and Catherine Morris played Fahey. And also, they did an episode on FBI files that was titled Deadly Obsession. And then in 2002, on an episode of CBS, the CBS on 48 Hours, they did a episode about that. Then there was even a story um, on Behind the Mansion Walls. And then I did not know this until I was reading this. There was an episode on Law and Order season 11 titled Ego. And this was portrayed, this was also portrayed in season 1 of NBC's Boomtown, which I'd never heard of that. So there was a lot of reference, a lot of coverage about this, because I'm going to tell you, you know, I don't remember all the details of the story. And I watched this on the news, and it was just sad to see something like this happen. But I never realized that it would get this much coverage from TV. Um, it's amazing how this happened. But again, guys, that's it. That's all I have to share with you today. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. And that's it. And I hope, yeah. And I will see you guys next time.